Hey everyone, Avalon here, and this is part 3 of a series on disability and winning your case. Many of us have become very ill, or we wouldn't be listening to this, and we have to start off by understanding that your main goal is to win your Social Security case. That means that you may be suffering from a broken neck. However, you don't have enough, as they call a paper trail, to prove this, and the testing being done doesn't prove anything. So you're going to have to come up with perhaps either something else you've been diagnosed with and you're still being treated for that may get you a disability win or not, or perhaps how this all started back in the day. So just for instance, let's just say you're a human being that when you were 7, you were in a automobile accident and you were in a coma. And then 40 years later, you find out that you're having panic and anxiety. Well, what's probably happened is that when you had the coma, you also had what they call a traumatic brain injury. Traumatic brain injuries are things that can completely destroy your health from the time of 7 onward. Many people won't tell you that. Why is this important? It's important because you need to win the disability case because you need money to feed yourself, to have shelter. So if you have a prayer to even get better, or at least to survive without drama, that we get that done as soon as possible. And the way to do that, if you want to do it with yourself, because you are your best self-advocate, you know your history, you know about the coma, no one else does. And guess what? There is one other person that does know. That's called every last practitioner you have seen over the past, say, 40 years since you were 7 concerning issues that had to do with the traumatic brain injury and the coma that could be creating your panic and anxiety attacks as we speak. So your best thing to do if you want to represent yourself and not have to pay anyone back pay is going to be for you to first of all sit down and take the time little by little, depending on your injury or your disease process that you're going through that's making you miserable. Go back to the very, very first time when you were 7. That is in your medical records somewhere. It's at the hospital, it's at the doctor, it is there. And that's what disability needs to see. It needs to see a long-term paper trail that could lead you from, let's just say, the traumatic brain injury and the history and the doctors and the interventions and everything that's been done to help you get through this throughout a 40-year period of time. Now you're 47, and now, oh my goodness, you have issues such as panic, anxiety, and depression, or anything that would keep you from being able to work. I would suggest what I did that helped me was you get a file folder, and on the file folder you begin on the outside of it to write number 1, 1966, car automobile accident, traumatic brain injury. Okay? Then I want you to follow it up with every single solitary physician, psychologist, any healthcare provider you know that's going to be on record, including hospitals, and start writing that down. So I would start with, let's just say 1963, I was 7, I was in an automobile accident, I had a coma, I had a traumatic brain injury. That's at this hospital, or that's at this doctor's, or whatever you can come up with through your family and your history. And start like that. Start from the back and go forwards, okay, to today. That way, what we're doing is we're going to create a paper trail of many, many years to where you've already had been set up for these problems. That's what the medical doctor and the Social Security Administration will be looking for. An attachment to medical evidence of why today you are suffering so much that you are unable to get to work. Secondly, a common problem. I don't suggest that you go out and you start going and making appointments at the Social Security Administration in your town. Social Security believes that if you can drive anywhere, especially to them, why are you not able to drive to your work? You have to think smarter, not harder. You can work if you can drive. You can work if you can get to their appointments. You can work. But if you want a good, strong case, you are going to have to prove that you cannot move to go to work, whether you sit in your bed all day or you go out to play at work. Okay? So what happened with me is that I started doing this. Me being a nurse, I knew what they were looking for. I was not trying to rip off Social Security. I was trying to self-advocate for myself, who quite frankly could not work at all. And I needed to prove that there was a connection between every single doctor, nurse, hospital, anything, to show that from here to there, the paper trail is what it is, showed that I was unable to work. Very important. I wish that we had a system in place for the money we gave away, unbeknownst to us, every time we did a paycheck, to give our money to us when we need it at the time of need. Unfortunately, that is not truth. I wish it was. Instead, it's more about you remembering through your parents, through your siblings, through your friends, through doctors. I've even been known to call physicians that I haven't seen in 15 years or 20 years to make sure where my records are. So a good history that's backed up by medical records, that's backed up by a current medical doctor, can make the difference between having to pay 25% for your representative, and maybe you may have to pay a percentage of your representative. It's not always 25%. That's the cap. But if you want your back pay, whether it be $10,000 to $80,000, free and clear, you can do this. So I encourage you to sit down and make all the notes, and if you still have your mom and dad alive, all the notes related to where, how, when all this occurred from as far back as you can, all the way to now. I won my disability case in 8 months with a good faith effort to try to go back to work, which I was unable to do. I'm not saying we're going to steal from disability. I'm saying that we gave our money away in good faith to help ourselves when we became elderly and senior. But many times we don't get to that place. Many times we become sick. And so it's very, very important for you to sit down and take the time to look back on your history, your physical, your healthcare providers. That way you can do it yourself. And by no means show Social Security that you're able to go to Social Security office to sit there for 45 minutes to 5 hours, okay? Because anyone that can do that can sit anywhere for 5 hours and do anything for work. Social Security does not care what kind of work you get. If, say for instance, I'm a nurse, okay? Social Security doesn't care if I make as much money as I did as a nurse. Social Security only cares that I can make money. Well, I personally care about the fact that I want every last penny of the money back that I put into this system because I'm sick. And for you to do this yourself, if you're able to do that, wonderful. If you're not, though, you could need help. Which leads me to another thing. One, I want to thank every last person that's subscribed to my channel. I also want to offer my services. My PayPal is Avalon, lowercase, AVALON 51 at yahoo.com, which is also connected to my PayPal account. Excuse me. I will be willing to answer a one question per $5, along with a few little here's or there's of your situation to help you get started on this path. And so with that being said, if you go to my email, which I'll put underneath here if I can figure out how to, otherwise just go to AVALON avalon51@yahoo.com. Ask your one question with a little brief history. I'll get back with you within 48 to 72 hours for $5. That's right, $5 for one question. So if you have 10 questions, whatever, it is what it is. Start small. I want you to win. I want you to relax. No body, meaning your physical body, is going to get better under any form of stress. And I can't think of a bigger stress than not being able to know where your food's coming from, your shelter's coming from, and your health care is going to be coming from. So with that being said, happy holidays, and I propose that I will most happily be willing to continue with the videos and to continue with helping out. Anyway, peace on earth and goodwill to all.